Hey there creeps and carnies, how's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another video on the likes of the killer clowns from outer space. Now, for those of you who have been longtime viewers of the channel, or maybe even if you found my channel recently, you may know that I am a huge fan of killer clowns from outer space. In the background here, we actually have one of the surviving screen-used cocoons, and this display case which I painted up and put together just to make it feel a little bit more like something out of their spaceship. Without a doubt, this is the centerpiece of my killer clowns collection, but it is far from the only piece I have. And today, we were going to take a look at just one piece that you could actually see in this video, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at both pieces which are also seen in the video. I've had some people questioning about them, but I haven't done a video on these pieces on the channel here yet. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at these really cool killer clowns pieces. Alright, so first up, here we have a pair of killer clown hands. Now, for those of you who are killer clowns cosplayers or just are trying to put together life sizes and stuff like that, you've probably already realized there's not that many options for hands out there on the market, and even the ones that are pretty close are not accurate. These, however, are pretty damn accurate. Not only are they accurate, but if I flip them around, you'll notice that they're signed. Now, as for the signatures on these hands, you have Mike Martinez, who played Slim, and Herod Blank, who played Rudy. Both of these hands were not only signed by the clowns, but these were actually worn by the clowns themselves. These were sculpted by Mike Nelson, known as Carnivorous Creations, who makes some incredible replica pieces. He does a lot of the work for a lot of the backdrops that you see in photo ops. So if you want to have some like these that were worn by the actors for photo op and stuff like that, I know for sure he will sell them like that. I don't know if you can get them unsigned, as I do believe these were sculpted pretty much with the purpose of them being used for these actors specifically, but you could still reach out and ask. Regardless, for the pair I have here, two pairs had popped up for sale. He had one pair which were entirely worn by Mike for the photo op, one pair which were worn by Herod for the photo op, and I believe each pair had each actor sign one of the gloves. So I could have just straight up bought one and it would have been one of the clowns, who knows which, but instead I asked him if he's willing to give me one glove from each set, so I for sure have them not just signed by that actor, but worn by that actor. So each hand here did belong to a different pair, but of course makes up a complete pair and is signed and worn by the actors who signed them, which is pretty damn sweet. Pretty much as close as you're ever going to get to screen-used clown hands, because as far as I know, there's only one pair of them out there, and it's owned by Sean Clark. Regardless of whether they were signed or not, they're still really, really well made, but the fact that these were signed and worn by those actors for photo ops is really damn cool. As for when they were worn, he said it was in Detroit, and I believe around the time period in which this was taking place, I think that would have been the Silver Scream Con. I could be wrong, but I do have a couple of photos of the gloves being worn by the actors during that specific photo op, and I'll put those on screen now. But yeah, as far as the gloves, there you have it. They were sculpted and created by Mike Nelson, and then worn by Mike Martinez and Herod Blank for photo ops, and now they rest here in my collection. So huge shout out to Mike Nelson for hooking me up with these. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys are interested in having stuff like this, or maybe even some of his custom creations, go hit him up over on Instagram at Carnivorous Creations. Alright, moving right along. The next piece is a very, very mysterious one. I'll be honest guys, out of anything I've owned throughout the many, many years that I've been collecting, this so far has been the one with the least amount of answers to it. And certainly the most questions. I'm going to share this here because I hope that maybe somebody watching can help me out with this. But with the research I've done, I really doubt it, but maybe somebody can. This is a piece I bought right before the gloves, and it's probably the main reason why I went ahead and went for the gloves. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into it. So here we have my giant killer clown head. This is one of the coolest, but still most mysterious pieces I own. I hope this is all in frame well. I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera and check real quick, because this thing is huge. Alright, it looks like it's mostly in frame, which is good. I want to go ahead and talk about this guy. So, let's talk about when it first popped up. This initially popped up on eBay for a very large sum. This was not a cheap purchase by any means. And it was listed on eBay as a piece that was cast out of the screen-used molds and was given as a gift to cast and crew members who worked on the film. that apparently clown heads were made and were sent home as gifts to the cast and crew. Now personally, I had never heard of this, I had never seen another one of these pop up anywhere, but very, very curious info. So it said that it came directly from the Kyoto Brothers studio, that it was made during the time of filming, obviously was sent home with cast and crew, and for those of you who are fans of Killer Klowns, you probably already know that the molds for the original heads were destroyed pretty much right after filming. If I'm not incorrect with this information, I believe they were destroyed before the movie was even completed with editing, so the likelihood of something like this surviving or even being created is very small. And for those of you who have kept up with Killer Klowns screen use props and stuff like that, you'll know that a majority of the pieces that were made for the film are rotting away, or are not in very good shape today. Some of them were well kept, most of them, unfortunately, the test of time has taken their toll on them, and they're not looking too great. So for something like this to pop up in this shape was quite surprising. Also, I don't know how well you guys can tell because all the light and colors and stuff, I don't know how washed out this is, but this mask has a lot of age to it, whether it be from the color of the hair, the actual color of the latex itself, like with the paint job and stuff, the dust and all the crevices. This piece seems like it is quite old. And with the story that it was listed with, it would have to be quite old. However, still in my opinion, it seemed just a little bit odd. So instead of just purchasing it outright for what it seemed to be and for what it was supposed to be, I decided to actually reach out to one of the Kyoto brothers. I asked him about it, I asked him about the story, I believe I even sent him a link, or maybe it was just screenshots of the listing, and he said that the item itself was legitimate, but the story of how it was obtained is not. That they never allowed anyone to cast anything out of their molds, and that if it was done without their permission. And whenever I heard that information, it was kind of a downer, because at that point, hearing that it was cast from their molds without their permission made me really not want it that much. But after talking to several other people that are screen use prop collectors, people that are in the actual craft world of making these things, most of these people, for one, also thought it was a screen use mold piece. And they also said, well, you can wait for an official cast to pop up, which they never will because the molds were destroyed, or you can go ahead and just grab this piece now. And it was supposedly out of the screen use molds and owned by a cast and crew member, made during the time of production. Then from a Kyoto brother, they said that it seemed to be legitimate, however the story wasn't. So, like I said, I went ahead and said, screw it, I'll probably never get the opportunity at something like this again, even for this price range, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on it. It came in, I reached out to the Kyoto brother again, going, look, I got a hold of this thing, I don't know if you guys would ever want to use it to reproduce it for Trick or Treat Studios, for Halloween Horror Nights, for anything like that, but if you ever want to use this, you can use it free of charge. I'm not asking for a dime out of the situation, and that's how I approached it. And after sending that message, I was then pretty much responded to, actually, I don't think that this is one of the pieces out of the mold, like we had discussed previously, and here's why. And I was sent some nice quality photos. There are a lot of features that are very, very close, but some very small ones, mainly small ones, that don't match up. So at this point, I'm pretty let down. I only purchased this piece because I thought it did have lineage to the film, or had lineage to something used in the film, but now I'm being told it doesn't. And this is the part where I'm hoping some of you can help. I have done countless hours of research on this thing, trying to figure out who made it, where it came from, because it is a very, very damn good replica. In my opinion, due to the actual shape of this, the anatomy, the actual small details, all the texture, everything, in my opinion, this has to be the most accurate Killer Klowns replica I have seen to date. I mean, this piece looks, at first appearance, very, very close. The inside of the mouth is very well done. He's actually got a tongue sculpted in there. And there were supposed to be teeth that were casted separately. There are still a couple of teeth in there, but you can tell there were individually casted and sculpted teeth that were glued in basically on the bottom of the tongue, and so it would give the appearance as if it was coming out of the gums. And some other details that make me question who made it, because it definitely seems to be made by a professional artist, is the fact that it's foam-filled. Typically that's something that is not handled by amateur artists, and sometimes if it is, it can go horribly wrong. This piece looks like it was foam filled within the mold, so whoever owned the mold definitely did the foam filling themselves. The seam line on this piece is also really, really good. Like, it's not 100% invisible, but for a latex piece, also depending on how old it is, very, very well done seam line, Definitely not the work of an amateur. Another detail that makes me think that this was done by a professional are the eye cuts. The eye cuts are handled almost perfectly. I don't see anywhere where there was any inconsistencies with how they were cut and trimmed. They look very, very well done. Whoever did it definitely knew what they were doing. And the only other example of one that I've been able to find was on the table of the Kyoto brothers at that 2006 convention, which had the screen-used cotton candy cocoon at that convention. You guys have seen a few photos from that con, but there were some screen-use props, there were Team America World Police pieces, and there were actually one of these, and I'm certain it is one of these sculptures, that was finished properly like Slim. And it looks great. It really does. This one also looks like it was painted by a professional who knew what they were doing and could obviously have painted it like Slim. So then my question is, why didn't they? Why was this clown in specific finished like this? I haven't really seen too many Killer Klowns fans doing custom versions of clowns for themselves, and especially for an artist to have something of this quality and to do just a completely random custom clown seems so weird, because it would be very expensive with the foam, with the fact that it's mounted, it has a wooden base, it's got these nice glass eyes in here. You know, it's a well-made piece that took a lot of work, and it would be quite expensive to make for someone. So I don't know why it would have been done to look like no clown that we can see in the movie. No prominent clowns, no background clowns, it doesn't match any of those. It just seems so weird to have something of this quality and have it be just completely custom. I've never seen any pictures of this online anywhere else. Like I said, the only other photo of the sculpture that I can find is on the Kyoto brothers table, but they don't seem to recall who made it. Or really, I just didn't get any response on that when I asked about it. So I guess the possibilities are perhaps this was made by the Kyoto brothers. I don't know if this was a sculpture that was retooled off of one of the originals, or if it was a completely ground up sculpture by the Kyotos, perhaps to just represent the clowns, possibly for this event, or for possibly future things. I don't know. That's the thing, I really don't know anything about this, other than the fact that whoever made it was a very skilled professional artist. There's a well-made base on here. If you look at the bottom of the sculpture, this black part is not part of the base. This is actually the flashing, which is the extra sculpture that is typically trimmed off of a mask that still is obviously attached to this piece, and it's just been painted black. So this is foam-filled latex at the bottom. It's all one piece with the head. So the only damage this thing has really sustained for however long it is that some teeth are missing, and clearly the paint job has yellowed. The sealer that they used on this, I imagine, is what caused it. It is very, very yellowed, but I don't know. It doesn't smell like smoke. The collector that owned it had several other screen-used mold and production-style pieces for sale at the same time, including pieces from, I believe, X-Files and Mars Attacks. So they had a lot of alien and sci-fi type pieces. And like I said, this was amongst it. They gave me the story they did, and I bought it with that story kind of somewhat being, I guess, confirmed, and then seemingly not. But like I said, honestly, I have no confirmation. I don't know anything for sure, and I'm just hoping that maybe somebody watching this video can shed some light. So if you know anything, let me know in the comment section down below. But at this point, I just have a really, really well-made, very well-made, custom killer clown head. So, was this made by some random fan as a very, very cool, in my opinion, one of the most accurate replicas ever made? Or was this actually made by the Kyoto brothers? I will say this, if it was made by the Kyoto brothers, that would make me understand the crazy paint and hair scheme that it has, because obviously they've mentioned they've been trying to do many different concepts for clown weapons, spaceships, new species of clowns, or I guess, you know, like different shape and looking clowns. And I imagine with that, they would also try to think of different ways to paint and hair some of the pre-existing characters. And perhaps this was just a concept piece that they did, and the story of the fact that it was never supposed to leave their studio was because somebody took it. I don't know, but that is not the story that was listed with. And when I did post it in the Killer Klowns group, a lot of people thought that it was one from the screen-used molds, because I mean, look at this fella. It has to be like one of the most accurate replicas ever. But at this point, I just have no clue who made it, but it is a very, very cool piece. If it was made by some other artist, if it was created by someone who just did a very, very good replica, there's a good chance that I would like to actually repaint and rehair this to look like Slim. Because I believe with a proper repaint and rehair, it would be one of the most accurate replicas, like the one that is seen there on the Kyoto Brothers table. But as it's finished now, it doesn't really represent any of the clowns from the film, or any of the ones in the background, anything that we've seen even concept-wise from the Kyotos. So unless it is a piece done by the Kyotos, it's just a really, really weird custom. That I feel like I'm going in circles with this, guys, but this is truly one that has confounded me. We've had Ghostface masks that were like one of a kind, or we hadn't seen that style before here on the channel, but this is truly something that I haven't been able to find anything on it. So I'm really hoping somebody out there knows something, because at this point in time, it's just a really, really cool clown. But anyways, I'm going to stop running in circles and go ahead and give you guys some nice close-ups of today's pieces. We certainly have some very cool ones, and this one is quite mysterious. Like I said, if you know anything at all about this, please let me know something in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Love you all, thank you for watching, and see you next time.